الياتيف.
الكثير ما فهمش ربما
الرئيس لما استوعب هذا الموضوع، لانه ما ننساوش المؤسسه اللي تشتغل في هذا الموضوع هي مؤسسه افريقيه، فالارقام افريقيه وليست الجزائر اللي كانت تقدم الارقام، عندها ارقام حقيقيه. ولهذا الرئيس اراد ان يخرج الجزائر من صالونات عرض المنتجات والخدمات الى صالونات تمضي الصفقات.
ابرام الصفقات. شكرا جزيلا لك، ممتع. اقولها في المباشر. استاذ عز الدين شيباني، انت مستشار ومدرب متخصص في المؤسسات الصغيره والمتوسطه والشركات الناشئه في الجزائر، شكرا جزيلا لك.
شكرا سيدي.
شرفت. مستمعينا الفاضل، تقبلوا تحياتي انا بالقاسم جير، نلتقي غدا في امان الله.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of Knowledge Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises, Nordin Wada, has said that the continent's startups are capable of transforming the African economy and driving technological transition, digital transformation and economic prosperity. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, received the Vice President of the African Union Commission, Ms. Salma Bakhta or Malika Haddadi, on the sidelines of her participation in the activities of the 4th edition of the African Startup Conference. And the Speaker of the Arab Parliament has condemned the statements made by the Israeli occupying authorities concerning the opening of Gaza's crossing point of Rafah on the border with Egypt, saying they constitute a serious violation of the international humanitarian law. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asia Bakar. Good afternoon. The Minister of Knowledge Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises, Noureddin Wada, has said that the continent's startups are capable of transforming the African economy and driving technological transition, digital transformation and economic prosperity. In a statement to the press on the sidelines of the ministerial summit, Mr. Wada said the summit's meeting included an overview of the best public policies implemented by African countries led by Algeria to offer young innovators the opportunity to contribute to a new knowledge-based economy driven by the new generations.
This 4th session of the ministerial meeting addressed two important topics. The first one was a summary of the best government policies implemented by African countries, particularly Algeria, to empower innovative youth and enable them to contribute to a new youth-led and knowledge-based economy. The second important point was the provision of tax incentives and funding for scientific research to launch startups that master technology and have a favorable environment to compete with bigger startups in other continents. At the same time, the African Startup Conference, through the framework of the ministerial meeting, provides an annual opportunity to analyze the Algerian roadmap. This roadmap, which is an official document of the African Union, focuses in developing innovation and startups, giving African youth a real opportunity to contribute to a new economy based on youth, knowledge, technology, and technological mastery, and achieving a greater technological sovereignty and development built on a technology that is developed by Africans.
He added that the African Startup Conference is an opportunity to showcase Algerian startups' capability to provide technological solutions developed by Algerian youth.
Once again, and on the sidelines of the 4th African Startup Conference, the Algerian startups proposed real solutions and platforms that complement the social media ecosystem in Africa. This African event once again showcases that our startups carry technological solutions developed by the Algerian youth. The goal for this edition is to highlight technology and create champions at the African and global levels with technology solutions developed by Algerian engineers.
Separately, the Minister of Knowledge Economy, Startups and Micro-Enterprises highlighted on the occasion of the Community Day the steps taken by the government to create a network of Algerian experts both within and outside the country to certify digital products developed by Algerian startups. Answering a participant question at the Community Day organized as part of the 4th African Startup Conference, Mr. Wadah explained that the lack of certification did not prevent the use of digital products locally locally in many sectors, noting that work is underway to implement a clear strategy to support startups in the certification process through the creation of a network of Algerian experts worldwide. And now the fourth edition of the African Startup Conference is continuing for the third day under the patronage of the President of the Republic, Mr. Al-Majid Tebboune. Mr. Sharfi reports.
The third and final day of the event features a rich program including conferences, panels, and workshops led by experts and stakeholders in the sector. Several topics are being addressed, notably startup financing, best practices, support mechanisms, and artificial intelligence. Several sessions dedicated to supporting startups in various sectors of economic activity are also planned, with ministers and relevant officials attending. In parallel, the activities of the Startup Fair, organized alongside the conference, are continuing, as are the proceedings of the Algerian Summit on FinTech and e-commerce. Let's recall that the second day was marked by the adoption by the African ministers in charge of the knowledge economy and startups of the fourth Algiers Declaration for the Development of Startups. Through the Algiers Declaration, the participants reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening intra-African cooperation, supporting young people, and facilitating the mobility of entrepreneurs, while calling for the document to be adopted at the African Union Executive Council session scheduled for February 2026 in Addis Ababa.
And on the sidelines of the African Startup Conference, Algeria has taken a significant step towards strengthening its satellite technology capabilities after two of its key institutions, Algeria Telecom Satellite and the Algerian Space Agency, signed separate memoranda of cooperation with China's GSpace. The partnerships are designed to advance Algeria's ambitions in satellite IoT services, low Earth orbit satellite production, and broader technology self-reliance. Now, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Committee Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has taken part in a video conference talks with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Mariano Grossi. The talks fall within the framework of following up the implementation of what was agreed upon between the two sides during the official visit made by the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency to Algeria last October. The two parties signed a joint statement on cooperation between Algeria and the agency in the field of peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, a statement aimed at strengthening the agency's technical assistance to Algeria, particularly through conducting a study on developing the peaceful uses of nuclear energy in the areas of electricity, health, seawater desalination, and agriculture. Also, the Algerian Foreign Minister received the Vice President of the African Union Commission, Ms. Salma Malika Haddadi, on the sidelines of her participation in the activities of the fourth edition of the African Startup Conference. The two sides examined the existing cooperation relations between Algeria and the African Union in development fields, particularly those falling within the framework of implementing programs stemming from the Continental Agenda 2063. Mr. Attaf received a phone call from his Sudanese counterpart, and the conversation focused on reviewing Algerian-Sudanese relations and exploring ways to strengthen them while exchanging views on recent developments and Sudan's ongoing challenges. On this occasion, the Sudanese Minister of Foreign Affairs expressed his thanks, appreciation, and gratitude for Algeria's position in favor of the unity, security, stability, and sovereignty of Sudan. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons and mines, Mohamed Arkab, has received here in Algiers the Vice President of the World Bank for the Middle East and North Africa, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, Osman Dion, with whom he examined ways to strengthen cooperation between Algeria and the international financial institution in terms of expertise, exchange, financing, and support for hydrocarbon and mining projects. Mr. Sharfi.
The meeting, attended by WB officials and Algerian ministry representatives, focused on strengthening cooperation in technical expertise, financing, and strategic hydrocarbon and mining projects, including oil, gas, petrochemicals, emission reduction, and key mining developments such as phosphate and fertilizer production. On the occasion, Mr. Arkab outlined Algeria's energy policy and sector development programs, including hydrocarbon infrastructure, hydrogen, mineral resource exploitation, and seawater desalination, emphasizing the country's role in regional and international energy security. He also reviewed major mining projects such as Gharj Bilat, phosphate, fertilizer, and zinc-lead projects, highlighting their contribution to local industries, national value addition, and strategic minerals for renewable energy. For his part, Mr. Dion praised Algeria's progress in hydrocarbons and mining and affirmed the World Bank's readiness to provide financial and technical support for key projects, promoting sustainable development and job creation.
You still listen to Radio Algeria International. The Speaker of the People's National Assembly, President of the Arab Interparliamentary Union, Brahim Boughali, has taken part in Doha, Qatar, in the opening of the 23rd edition of the Doha Forum 2025. And the details with Masoud Sharfi again.
Organized under the theme Establishing Justice from Promises to Concrete Reality, the forum places the issue of justice at the heart of global dialogue this year to see to it that discussions and theoretical principles are transformed into concrete results and practical cooperation in the service of the international community. The forum, held under the patronage of Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, brings together heads of states, ministers and political leaders as a global platform for discussing worldwide challenges and developing action-oriented solutions. In this regard, Mr. Boughali held discussions in Doha with the President of the Qatari Shura Council or Parliament, Mr. Hassan bin Abdullah Al Ghanim, during which they examined ways of strengthening cooperation and exchanging expertise between the two parties. During the meeting, the two parties also discussed enhancing regional and international issues of common interest. In this context, Mr. Boughali stressed the need to enhance joint action within the UIPA, promote cooperation, coordinate international positions, and expand bilateral exchanges, including administrative cooperation. For his part, the President of Qatar's Shura Council praised the strong bilateral relations with Algeria and Mr. Boughali's UIPA presidency, highlighting the progress achieved in joint parliamentary action and calling for enhanced consultation and unified positions in regional and international parliamentary fora. The discussions culminated in the signing of a memorandum of understanding on parliamentary cooperation between the two institutions, establishing a parliamentary partnership based on the principles of equality, mutual trust, and common interests.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. And to the Middle East now. The Speaker of the Al Parliament, Mohammed Al Yamahi, has condemned the statements made by the Israeli occupying authorities concerning the opening of Gaza's crossing point of Rafah on the border with Egypt, saying they constitute a serious violation of the international humanitarian law. He denounced the statement as a blatant violation of the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement and as a clear attempt to impose a new fait accompli on the ground in line with the Israeli plan to liquidate the Palestinian issue. The Speaker of the Arab Parliament stressed that any attempt to impose a unilateral opening of the crossing point was not a humanitarian initiative, but was rather part of systematic forced displacement policy and a means of pressure on the Palestinian population. In this connection, he denounced such measures as war crimes and as running counter the international courts, highlighting the unity of the Palestinian territory and the Palestinian people's right to remain in its land. Meanwhile, one Palestinian girl was shot dead by the Israeli soldiers in Rafah in the southern part of Gaza. The news agency Wafa said and affirmed that she was killed outside the so-called deployment zone in Rafah. To Africa now, the head of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has affirmed or has expressed firmly and unequivocally his condemnation of the anti-constitutional coup attempt carried out yesterday by military in Benin, saying that it constitutes serious violation of the African Union's fundamental values and principles. And Sudanese Justice Minister Abdullah Darif has stated that his government is ready to engage in political dialogue to end the conflict ravaging his country, asserting that a settlement is only possible if the rapid support forces lay down their arms, withdraw from major cities, and hand over security control to state authorities. Speaking at a panel discussion during the Doha Forum 2025, the Sudanese minister affirmed confirmed that no progress towards peace is conceivable as long as the RSF occupies urban areas and possesses heavy weapons. Also, the Sudanese minister highlighted that peace cannot be discussed while weapons are still in the hands of criminals and terrorists. He presented the conditions set by Khartoum for a ceasefire and political negotiations, stating that the RSF must agree to surrender their weapons in specific areas, withdraw from all these cities, and allow the police to regain control. He added that the government remains open to regional and international mediation. He said that the last initiative signed was the Jeddah Declaration in 2023, but the militia has not respected what was agreed upon. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. That's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to our economic program, compiled and presented by Said Bouazi.
Hello and welcome to our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. In the news, the Minister of Posts and Telecommunications, Sid Ali Zarruqi, has announced in Algiers the official launch of the 5G mobile telephony technology in Algeria, marking the beginning of a new era of connectivity and economic development for the country. On this occasion, Sid Ali Zarruqi described the official launch of 5G as a decisive step in the modernization of telecommunications in Algeria, marking the beginning of a gradual rollout to boost the digital economy. Algerian companies have signed at the end of their participation in the Oman International Exhibition of Agriculture, Oman Agri-Food, held from 1st to 3rd December in Muscat, Sultanate of Oman, 7 export trade agreements with Omani companies, reflecting the dynamism of the national companies and their ability to forge regional trade partnerships, said a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion. These agreements cover the export of a wide range of products such as vegetables and fruits, chocolate spreads, olive oil, as well as several foodstuffs, which testifies to the commitment of Algerian companies to expand their business partnerships and strengthen their presence on Gulf and international markets. The Minister of State, Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines, Mohamed Arkab, has received a delegation from the Brazilian global company WEG, leader in the manufacture of electrical and electronic equipment, led by its general manager, Francisco Martinez. During this meeting, the two parties reviewed the state of cooperation between WEG and Sonatrach and Sonarem before examining the means of its expansion in the fields of oil, gas and the mining industry, according to a statement from the ministry. Industry Minister Yahya Bashir has received a high-level Belarusian delegation with whom he discussed ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation in the industrial and agricultural sectors and promote investment in areas of mutual interest, according to a statement from the ministry. The meeting provided an opportunity to review ways of strengthening industrial and agricultural cooperation between the two countries and to open up new prospects for partnership in the service of economic integration. In more Algerian economic news, the container ship Alster Dieppe, which was making its maiden voyage as part of the new weekly Skikda Valencia commercial shipping line, docked on Tuesday evening at the port of Skikda, said Samir Boujem'a, managing director of the Skikda Port Authority. The same official specified in a statement to APS that the docking of this Spanish ship on Tuesday evening at quay number 8 of the port of Skikda was the result of the implementation of this route agreed upon during a recent meeting with officials from the Spanish shipping company Margisa, representing the global shipping giant HMM. The Sonatrach Group has announced in a press release that the Tigremt seawater desalination plant in the province of Bijaya has begun operating at full production capacity with a capacity of 300,000 cubic meters per day. The gradual ramp-up operations were carried out with rigor and precision in accordance with the international standards in force in this field, particularly those relating to the safety and efficiency of equipment. The chairman of the Commission for the Organization and Supervision of Stock Exchange Operations, COSOB, Youssef Bouznada, has announced that the launch of the electronic trading of shares and bonds on the Algiers Stock Exchange is scheduled for before the end of December, stating that this new system will help to increase transparency and speed up the execution of transactions. During a national meeting with various financial market players, Mr. Bouznada explained that the national financial market is now unified and ready to implement this transformation following the establishment of a modern legal and regulatory framework that allows for it, adding that the launch of the digitization of orders for the sale and purchase of shares and bonds before the end of December is an essential step in the process of modernizing this market. To wrap it up, controlling inflation and maintaining the Algerian economy's performance in non-hydrocarbon sectors are encouraging signs that will support stronger, more sustainable and diversified growth, a World Bank economist said Wednesday in Algiers. World Bank economist for Algeria Daniel Prince said in a report entitled Responding to Climate Challenges and Supporting Sustainable Development that the Algerian economy continued its momentum in 2025 with a growth of 4.1% in the first half of the year and an expected expansion of 3.8% for the year as a whole. And with this we come to the end of our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Discover Algeria, a program in which we'll let you discover or know more about the Algerian heritage, to include history, traditions, popular beliefs, social rituals, celebrations, as well as many aspects of the Algerians' life dating back to the Berber or Amazigh era until the Muslims won. Decided to take you to the Algerian desert, 1,200 kilometers from the capital Algiers to the small town of Timimoun, located in the heart of the Gourara region and part of the western Great Erk. Timimoun is located in the arid zone of the Sahara in the southwestern province of Adrar, with an annual rainfall that doesn't exceed 100 millimeters per year. The region is marked by incredibly high sand dunes that shift restlessly day after day across the hot, sandy plains of the desert. Timimoun is situated between palm groves and a salt lake and a little desert oasis. The magnificent sand dunes of the Sahara rise and fall in the distance, providing the city with the most picturesque backdrop. The town can be divided into two sections. The old part is called Al-Qsor, which is the Arabic word for castles, and most of the houses are built of red mud in a style known as Sudanese architecture. These homes seem to compete for space, almost climbing on top of one another as they try to gain the highest ground possible. The streets between them are narrow and, in true desert fashion, are shaded over by large sheets of cloth so that passing pedestrians can have some sort of relief from the blazing sun. The properties here are enclosed by mud walls that are too high to see over, and the shade of the palm trees provides welcome relief. In the modern sections of the town, which were built by the French, much of the original architectural styles were drawn on to create a harmonious feel. For instance, the Oasis Rouge or Red Oasis Hostel that was once built in this newer section by the French is now a cultural centre. There is also the Gurera Hotel, built after Algeria's independence by Fernand Pouillon in the 70s, and which is a tribute to the Qsour architecture as well as to the materials used, with that kind of ochre-like colour so particular to Timimoun's constructions. Now, one of the most notable features in this city are also the Qubbat, which are buildings with dome shapes dedicated to the marabout or saints in the region. There's also the oasis, which is full of a great number of palm trees that protect crops planted with fruit trees, vegetables, and irrigated thanks to a fantastic irrigation system called Fougera that date back to the first inhabitants of the region 10 centuries ago. The Fougera managed to mobilize groundwater for the irrigation of hectares of crops. Today, unfortunately, we witness the gradual disappearance of Fougeras. We lose about 1 to 2 Fougeras per year for over half a century. The causes of decline in Fougeras are technical, social and environmental, such as heritage, depopulation, as well as silting and flooding of the galleries by wild plants. There are also technical problems, such as the collapse of tunnels, which also cause the degradation of the Fougeras. Let's mention too that the modern collection of water with pumps and drilling is also gradually replacing the traditional hydraulic system. Most visitors to Timimoun use the city as a base for excursions into the inhabitable Great Western Erg. If you are visiting this characteristic town, make sure you meet and take time to get to know the inhabitants who have Haratin, Zinnet, Berber, Shimba Arab and Black African backgrounds to discover their hospitality, life philosophy, generosity and kindness. Timimoun is just a place that simply shouldn't be missed.
إذاعة الجزائر الدولية تنقل إليكم صوت الجزائر، تضعكم في الصورة وترسم لكم الطريق عبر محللين مختصين ومراسليها في العالم. إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.
تشاهدون برامج إذاعة الجزائر الدولية بالصوت والصورة عبر تقنية لايف ستريم على صفحات التواصل الاجتماعي فيسبوك، تويتر وقناة اليوتيوب لإذاعة الجزائر الدولية. لمزيد من الأخبار تابعوا radioalgerie.dz/Radio Algérie International.
إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، صوتنا في العالم.
العالم يتغير.